Hey there, coaches. I'm Rich Prado, owner of Play In School and host of Travel Ball Talk, where I talk to travel ball coaches from the best organizations about the current and future state of travel baseball. Way back on episode 1 of Travel Ball Talk, we spoke to Bob Rikeman, owner of the Scorpions. You can listen to that episode over at playinschool.com/Rikeman. It was on that call where Bob announced to the world that the Scorpions were officially putting their money where their mouth is by committing to the development of their ball players. They did this by drastically altering how they and, most travel ball orgs schedule their summer season. They played in exactly 0 events during the month of June. Instead, every single week, players were put up in dorms, ate in cafeterias, and spent their days practicing baseball the Scorpions way. Today, we're catching back up with Bob and Matt Gerber, the Scorps director of baseball, to find out if their experiment worked. As with every conversation I have with these guys, I think you can feel the intensity in their voices. There's a passion and competitiveness that is contagious. I hope you enjoy this episode of Travel Ball Talk. All right, welcome back to another episode of Travel Ball Talk. We're going back to the well for the first time. We're going to revisit our first guest ever, Bob Rikeman, head honcho with the Orlando Scorpions, and we're joined today with Matt Gerber, former head honcho, and I would call him, what do you call yourself, like the vice president over there, Gerb? Welcome to the show, guys.
Director of Baseball Operations, Richie, and I appreciate you having us on today.
Love it. Rikeman, you were the first guest. You took a chance on me. We're probably 45 shows in since then. My goal last year was for 50 shows, and I fell short. But I think that's about a B, maybe a B plus. I've never gotten a B plus in my life, so I'll take it. But I appreciate you coming on last year, and I appreciate you coming on this year. Last year's episode coincided with the announcement, a major announcement in the shift of Scorpions baseball, and specifically with the schedules of the older players. Do you want to take a few seconds to remind everybody where you went a little different last year, what that announcement was, and then we're going to get into talking about the result of that. So catch everybody up who wasn't super familiar with the adjustment y'all made for last summer.
Yeah, I mean, I think, for the past, 2 years, we've been talking in our staff group about trying to do something different and get more on a development track for kids and try to get all of our kids to be better baseball players and better skills and better understanding of the game and better, play the game the way that people wanted to watch them play the game. And, last year around Thanksgiving time, we had another meeting and we just decided we were going to just jump off the ledge and do it. And Gerb did a really tremendous job of putting together a program that we could sit through, look at before we made the decision of how it would look. And, we made another great decision of hiring Johnny Goodrich on full-time as our director of coaching, so we could have somebody manage the coaches and train the coaches as well, which we do. We have monthly coaches meetings all in the off-season, all the way leading up until we go to our summer training program, so all of our coaches are on the same page. The biggest thing for me that I can tell you right now that I wanted to see as the owner of the Scorpions is, one, I wanted to provide a better development program for 100% of the Scorpions and not have the Scorpions just be looked at as the place for the top players in Florida or wherever they are to play baseball. The second thing I wanted to do is, one, I wanted to be able to prove to people that we had the best coaches around. And how do you do that? Well, you train the coaches as well as the players. And the third thing is I wanted to make sure that no matter what team I was on with the Scorpions, that I had the same bunt defense, the same first and third defense, the same base running technique, the same hitting technique, the same approach, the same way to play the game, so that when kids would go to play for a different coach or a different team, we'd move a kid up or send a kid down, that everybody was on the same page from our older teams all the way down to our younger teams. And And I'll let Gerb speak to the process, as he was the one who ran the process in the summertime. But I can say, from somebody who owns the business and had a vision for what I wanted this to be, I could not be more pleased after our first year, seeing our teams not only, get praise from coaches and scouts, and the same coaches and scouts that told me what their disgust in travel baseball was a year ago, but also the success on the field with teams finishing in the finals for a lot of tournaments, and not just our top teams, but all of our teams, and seeing, two teams in Jupiter make it to the, high into the rounds of the playoffs is a huge accomplishment that, in 1 year, we had your top team a year ago doesn't even make it to the playoffs in Jupiter, and now you have two teams make it through the Sweet 16 and the Final Four. So it's just the proof is in the pudding, and I think the most rewarding fact for me is, whenever you step off the ledge, people are going to mock you. They're going to try and steal your coaches. They're going to tell you destroyed the Scorpions. They're going to talk all kinds of stuff. And the biggest part of it for me is I look back and smile as we have 300 kids coming to tryouts this weekend. It worked. And, I'm not beating my chest. I'm not pounding my chest. But if you didn't think that I've been doing a little dance, seeing 300 kids come out for tryouts, you're crazy, because I'm proud of it. I think we proved the point, and I think we proved the point that we're better for kids. And that's where I stand on the whole thing.
I love that. So for those of you who are listening who aren't quite sure what we're talking about yet, because he was talking at like a 30,000-foot view, let's back up a second. Standard operating procedure in travel baseball over the last umpteen years has been, we hit the summer, and it's weekend tournament, week off, weekend tournament, week off, weekend tournament, week off. And you basically do that from, June to August. So, as described, the Scorpions sort of zigged when everybody's going the same direction. So let's hand the mic to Gerb, and he can describe what was done differently last year with the Scorpions compared to years past with just weekend tournament, week off, weekend tournament, week off. Gerb, you want to jump in?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you said, we kind of, we've been talking about it as a staff for a couple of years. And I think one thing that, as the Scorpions and just in life in general, if you're not continuing to try to get better at what you do all the time, then you got to look yourself in the mirror. There's always room for improvement. Always, even if you're at the top, and, I would say that the Scorpions are one of the, top 5 or 10 travel programs in the country year in and year out, but looking at what can we do better, how can we be better and service our kids and our families better, and that's, I think, a question that we constantly ask ourselves in our offices here. So in the past, like you said, we play in about 8 events during the summer, and we'd show up an hour and a half before the game, and I felt like we had really good coaches that would do their best within that framework to hit with a kid before a game if we were struggling, or talk to him about whatever it might be, make some adjustments on the fly. But there was never really a time to, get to the meat and bones and honestly, prepare them for the next level, whether that be college or professional baseball, because there's so much more practice and development that goes into those arenas that the kids in our industry in travel baseball just weren't getting. It was play, 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 play. So, Coach Wright came up with the slogan, train more, play less. And that was kind of our mantra going forward. So essentially what we did is we took 4 weeks where we went 4 days a week. We went to a complex with dorm rooms and a cafeteria. And we spent 4 days a week for 4 straight weeks training, essentially spring training. We had them position players were split into position groups, middle infield, corner infield, outfield, catcher, and they would go have rotations, weight room, defensive rotations, hitting rotations throughout the day, and then we do team practices, as well as at nighttime, which was probably my favorite part. At nighttime, we have open cage hitting where kids could just come and work on their own after a full day of work on the field, and we'd be hitting in the cages with our coaches and our players till 11:30 at night. And I talked a lot about how I thought that this new model would help us really be transformational coaches. instead of transactional ones. And I really do believe that happened. I think the relationships that we made with these kids were much deeper than they normally are. We were, eating the same food and sleeping in the same dorms and together all day. And I think just the relationships and the bonds that were formed with our kids were much deeper. And I think that was evident on the field in the way that they played. We can talk about, I'm sure we'll talk about the success a little bit, but I think one thing that Coach brought up that was huge for us is being able to implement a style of play, right? Like the Scorpions brand of baseball. You go watch one of our teams, whether it's our oldest team or our youngest team, there's going to be some absolutes. And one of the big absolutes that we put in is the way we run the bases. We do a lot of studying and trying to learn from the guys that do it really well. And, one of the best base stealing schools in the country is obviously Wright State, and then now UCF, and UCF's right here in our back door. And we looked at the way that they do it and studied. Our coaches have a subscription to a base running account where we learn it, and it's called Old School, New School. And essentially what it does is it tries to help our players who aren't the greatest runners in the world still be able to steal bases through a different mentality and a different way to go about it. And we drilled that and drilled it. And I'm telling you what, when you show up to a wood bat tournament and you can't wait for four hits in an inning, and you get your 6-hole hitter on with a leadoff walk that runs a 7.4 60, and he can steal second and third base, it affects the game. And at the end of the day, we play this game to win, or else they wouldn't turn the scoreboard on. And I felt like just by having that in our pocket and doing it across the board, we were able to win games that we normally wouldn't win. And if the bats didn't show up that day, even though obviously we got really good players and really talented guys, we've got that. We've got first and third offenses in the PG underclass this year, where we ended up losing the championship game 1-0 in extra innings to the Canes. A great game. Our Elite Eight game, we just weren't swinging the bats for whatever reason. We had first and third with 2 outs in the 5th inning in a 0-0 ball game with our 4-hole hitter up, kid going to Oklahoma State, can really, really hit, really good player. And we run the fall down play between first and third and score a run, end up winning the game 1-0.
Incredible.
And so I just think having the opportunity to have those put into place is huge. So that's kind of the high-level overview.
This is a minor side note. The thing about, you talk about some teams get caught up, all we want to do is win. Other teams say, well, we don't care about that at all. I get both arguments. The thing about it is, if you can extend an inning and play to win and steal a bag, well, that's going to help on the showcase side of things too, because you're going to get a kid another at-bat, right? So it's not like we're all showcase or all win. Winning helps increase the opportunities for that showcase component. And the more ABs you get, the more games you win, the more games you get to play. You're giving the kids more opportunities to be seen.
Richie, I would honestly kind of disagree, and that's fine. That's good for these things.
Let me hear your take.
I think in our industry in travel baseball, I think one of the biggest problems is something we're trying to combat and be a mouthpiece for nationally is that mentality that it's about me and it's the showcase, right? We tell our kids all the time, we preach it till we're blue in the face, that you showcase your individual talents through the team game, right? And in the end of the day, whether it's Kevin O'Sullivan or Tim Corbin or Joe Urso at Tampa or Coach Johnson at Chipola, whoever it is, right? Their job is to win.
Yeah.
Right? If they don't win, they get fired, right? So if we're not training our kids to help the team win, then we're not doing our job.
Right. Let me sub out a word. Let me substitute a word, because I think we agree 100%. When you're taking a bag or you're getting an extra AB, forget the word showcase. That extra hitter or that extra entire game because you won the last one, you're going to get one more AB or one more full game where coaches are locked in on you. And at the end of the day, a big part of this is, coaches are watching teams and players and evaluating for the future. And so I didn't mean like in a showcase me first mentality. Winning provides, and stealing extra bags and stealing extra ABs provides another chance for a coach to see a kid. You lose today, nobody gets seen tomorrow. So I think we're on the same page, and I think we agree more than we disagree. Let's go back to Rikeman for a second. I heard basically three huge themes come out of this. There's a development piece, there's a training, players and coaches piece, and then there's an overall consistency piece across the board. Can you take one of those and riff on why you think it's so important, whichever one you want to talk on, and then we'll talk about the other two in a second. Development.
Well, I think the one thing to me, in always having coached at smaller schools, right? I mean, I spent most of my time obviously at Rollins, and had success there, and been to the College World Series there, Division II World Series, and I had a lot of success with kids. And as you mentioned, offline today, a lot of my alumni are still involved in baseball. A lot of Rollins alumni are still involved in baseball. We have Daniel Dowd speak at our parent meeting last year, the perfect example, And the one thing that I will tell you is I've always been a big believer in program. Mm-hmm. Anybody can have a good baseball team 1 year here and 1 year there, but I've always believed in the word program. When you have the word program, you're talking about building something that stands the test of time. Now, did I win every single year at Rollins? Does Sully win every year at Florida? Like that's not the idea of what I mean by a program. When you think of Vanderbilt, you think of a program. Mm-hmm. You don't think of a good baseball team. Yeah. When you think of the Yankees, you think of a program. When you think of the Patriots, you think of a program. And that was the whole mindset behind changing the Scorpions to the vision that I had of a development model. That's all part of the program. So when a kid comes to the Scorpions, he's not trying to be the best player on the best team. That's a byproduct. He's trying to be part of one of the best programs. And when I look at programs like CBA, and I look at programs like, the Ontario Blue Jays and the Evo Shield Canes and Andy Parton, those guys have a program. Andy Parton's teams and those guys' teams could lose every single game this summer. You'd still think the Dirtbags, the Canes, everybody had a great program. Mm-hmm. Because they built something bigger than a good team. They built something better than a first-round draft pick. They built something better than some coach's ego of how great he is. Nobody's bigger than the program. Nobody's bigger than the Scorpions, myself included, and it's one of the reasons why I stay out of it. And I don't go on the field, and I don't do a lot of things. Now, I got a big mouth on Twitter, and I'm sure everybody hates that, but that's life. But it's I want the Scorpions to be one of the best programs in the country. And in my opinion, my first 2 years, I failed because we didn't have everybody in the Scorpions organization doing the same things all the time, from the coaches all the way down to the players. Now, when I go out there and I see all of our kids can get Johnny Goodrich, all of our kids can get Sal Lombardo, all of our kids can get Matt Gerber, all of our kids can get Jerry Kennedy, all of our kids can get all of our coaches every single day, no matter what team you're on. You're now seeing a program in action. Yeah. And it's a beta program is really the goal that I have for this organization. The development part of it, those are the keys, right? Development, doing things right. That's, having kids sprint on and off the field, not having kids wear shorts on the, to a game, not having kids wear their hat backwards, not having kids having their shirts unbuttoned all the way down to their belly button. Those are all parts of it. But the main focus that I have for the Scorpions is I want it to be one of the best programs, because a program stands the test of time, in my personal opinion.
That's beautiful perspective. It almost sounds like you read. I got a PDF on my site. I call it "How to Win at Showcases," and no part of that includes anything about a skill set. It includes these things like showing up to the ballpark looking like a ball player. not showing up looking like a basketball player. It includes things like running on and off the field. There's so many ways to impress people without going 4 for 4 in this game. I mean, the reality is you're not going to be able to go 4 for 4 every day, but you can do so many little things that impress people. What I'm hearing is, from a program level, you're insisting, or maybe that's the wrong word, you're looking for the guy who's going to buy in to doing those things on a day-to-day basis, right? You're looking for the...
I mean, that's an absolute now. I mean, if we have to give you a refund and send you home, we'll give you a refund and send you home. It's an absolute. There's no two ways about it. And I will tell you one thing with our coaches, and I think Gerber will back me up on this 100%. With Johnny running the coaches now, there's no doubt in my mind that every one of our coaches buys in. I don't even have to insist anymore. I can stay in the woods somewhere where no one even knows I'm around, and they run the Scorpions now. And I can literally say that I never worry about it anymore. And if players don't want to be part of that program, we'll give you a refund and send you somewhere else. We don't care anymore. And that's a great thing about Fair Choice. I mean, there's a lot of other great travel programs right here in Orlando, and we compete with them on a daily basis. But if you want to be part of the Scorpions, this is the way it's going to be. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Whether you're great, you're average, or whatever, you're going to do it our way, or you can go somewhere else and play. It's just the way we are now. And maybe we have a little bit of an attitude about it. But you know what? If someone doesn't set the tone, then there is no tone, and you can't expect people to follow. When I was at Rollins, ask anybody who played for me. Ask Kevin Davidson with Baseball Cloud. Ask Gerber. Ask any of these guys. I'd sit them down and tell them, you don't have to be here. There's plenty of other schools to play baseball. If you don't want to do it this way, there's the door. No hard feelings. It doesn't mean you're a bad player. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It's just not a good fit. And that's the other thing that's important.
The leadership is so apparent here. And the reality is, in our world, we often think there's that saying, the customer's always right. Okay, I get that. I get the sentiment. But you guys have 400 players in your organization? More? I don't know. If you let it be known that the customer is always right, that means there's 400 different kids that can do things 400 different ways, and they have the potential to walk all over you. I've seen it. Maybe not at a level where there's 400 players, but I've seen it in smaller organizations where a coach is so scared to lose a kid that they let the kid and or the family walk all over them and walk all over I'm doing air quotes, the standards, the bunny quotes around the standards of that organization. Because if you're letting kids walk all over your standards, you really don't have standards. And I'm just hearing it loud and clear in my headphones right now that you guys have figured out where your standards are, and everybody's on one side. If a kid's on the other side, he can go down the road. And there's plenty of teams. Go find another good one.
And to credit our organization, and to credit our coaches, and to credit the kids. Again, Danny O'Dowd said something at a parent meeting that I'll never forget next year, and he says, coaches, if you don't build relationships with these kids while you're in the dorms for 4 weeks, shame on you. And I will tell you this, and Gerb, you can chime in. I mean, we had some attrition, and but I look at it and I see the way the kids interact with the coaches now. Now that I have this facility here, I see a lot of the kids in here, and they hug you and everything else. This isn't like a dictatorship where we just sit on top of a mountain and beat the crap out of the kids either. That's not what I mean. If you set the tone professionally and you set the tone with good coaches who are good people who truly care about the kids, there's a lot less ass kicking than you think. It's more relationship building and convincing the kids through hard work and your determination and your competitiveness and your commitment that this is the right way to do things. You don't have to be a bash brother in that situation. You work with the kid instead of ordering the kid to do something. And if you could spend one day, like I got to, with our coaches and our kids over summer training, when it's 105 degrees out and these kids don't even want a water break. And they're out on that field dying every single day without complaining, anything else. That to me is it speaks volumes. And there's two things. You know, I've never heard a great coach talk about winning to their players, and I've never heard a great coach berate their players. Doesn't mean coaches don't get upset. It doesn't mean coaches don't yell. But that's not what the Scorpions is about. All I'm saying is when we set our standard to do things from now on, starting last year, I put my foot down and said, I want the Scorpions to be the team that everybody looks at and says, that's a Scorpions team. That's a Scorpions team. That's a Scorpions team, regardless if it's our top 2020 team or our lowest 2024 team. It doesn't matter to me. I want people to say that's a Scorpion team. And that's the information that I've passed on to Gerb. That's the information that Gerb has translated to our coaching staff with Johnny. And that's the information that our coaching staff has translated to our kids. And through relationships in 1 year, that has made a huge difference in our program.
So you talked about something earlier. The two of y'all talked about something, and I've seen the opposite. Y'all talked about consistency across from your youngest team to the oldest team, from the A team to the Z team, whatever you want to call it. The consistency. You've seen other organizations, we've all seen them, where there might be a coach or a team that's kind of on an island. They have their own language, they have their own plays, they have their own style, and you look at their next team and it's a completely different thing. What have y'all found have been the most beneficial part of having your newfound consistency across the entire program?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple of things. Well, first of all, you know, each team is going to have a different makeup, right? You can have a program, right, and have important absolutes, but you know, personnel changes year to year, personnel changes team to team, right? I think it's more about in the way that you go about your business. Coach Wright, you know, mentioned that business-like approach and professionalism, and I think that that's more the key than to style of play, right? So, expecting our kids, you know, the great thing is now, like Greg said, like people know that this is our program, right? Like we are full disclosure all the time, right? We came out with our tryouts 3 months ago, and our schedule was on our website. Our cost is on our website. Everything we're doing is here it is, right? And because we feel like it's the best, right? We feel like it's really good. And people know going into it, this is what's expected of me, right? And I think setting those expectations is very important, one, with our players and our coaches, the coaches meetings, the professionalism of those, and making sure that the coaches feel like they have a say in what goes on as well, right? It's like Reich said, it's not Reich or myself or Johnny or Sal or Jerry Kennedy, guys that have been with us for 10 years. It's not them just sitting at the rooftop and yelling and saying, this is what we're going to do, but making sure that 23-year-old coach just at a pro ball has a voice on what's going on as well, right? I think that's important. But I think it's more about the consistency, honestly, and just, you know, understanding that you're required to show up once we start playing games and we're in tournaments. You're required to show up an hour and a half before the game, right? Every team's got a team bag that's got a pop-up net, a tee, wiffle balls, whatever it is, because you know as well as I do, you go to some of these tournaments, you want to go hit in the cages and get ready to play, and there's nowhere to do it, right? Mm-hmm. And that's fine. That's part of it. That's part of what we do. But having the tools to be able to prepare correctly, right? All of our teams go through the same stretching routine, right? It's about routine and rhythm, right? Everything in your life is done in a rhythm, right? And I think if you can have that consistent rhythm, it's going to make you perform better in whatever you do in life, right? Whatever you do. And I think that's a key too, that you hear me say a lot. And when I talk to people, it's this, well, the reason we do this, the reason I get so fired up about this, the reason I've been doing this for 15 years now, right, is because I feel like I have the opportunity to affect kids and help them be successful in life, right? Like, the Scorpions is a very successful organization. You know, Reich, I think, what's the number now? I think we've had like 30-something big leaguers, right?
Right, yep.
But, I mean, that's a lot, right? but it's really not a lot when you think about the number of kids that have come through our programs over the years.
Sure.
But we have the opportunity to affect these kids, and the more human beings crave structure. It's what we want, right? Like the rhythm of life. That's what we want. And I think that when you were talking about, parents walking all over, I think there's more parents and kids out there that want structure and
Absolutely.
that want coaching than that don't, right?
Which leads to my next point. But go ahead, finish your thought. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. So it's fine, Rishi. I just think, in answer to your question, I think that, if you show up and watch our teams, yes, there's very consistent things in the way we go about it, right? I think the one thing you'll see is from a team standpoint, the Scorpions brand, we run the bases in a certain way, and I hope that we hold runners really well. Like, those are two really important things to us that we teach and we spend a lot of time on, right? But if you go to team, there might be a team that bunts more than another team. There might be a team that tries to hit the ball in the gap and over the fence more. It just depends on what you have, right? But the consistencies in our approach is base running and holding runners. I would say that those are two absolutes that every team has.
And I would echo that with Gerb too. I mean, we are not going to take away a player's identity. Like, that's something I don't want to do. This is not like going to boot camp and you're being indoctrinated to be a certain way. This is a style of play, an approach of how you play the game type of change. This is not a, make Dylan Cruz a bunter type of play.
Right.
And that identity, I want those kids to have that identity. And where the consistency comes from is not showing up an hour and a half before a game and playing. Right. That consistency comes from being in the batting cage with a kid till 11 o'clock at night. And that kid sees you out there till 11 o'clock at night and knows you both have to get up at 8 o'clock the next morning and do this all over again. That's where that comes from. That's where the consistency comes from. You have the leader and the follower in the same boat every single day. There's one guy's not on land directing traffic here. If that boat floats, it floats with each other. If that boat sinks, it sinks with each other. And that's the difference. It's not, an hour before a game, there's a lot of things that can happen, good and bad, with that type of thing. And I've seen it. There's resentment, there's this, there's that. But when you're with somebody every single hour, every single day, in a dorm, in the mess hall, in the batting cages, on the field, 100 degrees, you start to appreciate each other a little bit more. And it's a little more difficult to get upset at a kid when he does something stupid, and it's a little bit more difficult for a kid to get upset with a coach when he does something stupid. That's where the consistency comes from.
Remind me, was it 4 weeks or 5 weeks of this development summer, call it spring training, that you guys did?
We did 4 weeks, and then we also did several of those type of things in the fall season as well.
Okay.
In the fall, we did a couple of things. We went on some college campuses and had some college coaches help us through the process. But essentially it was if you break our summer season, it's about 8 or 9 weeks. So it's 4 weeks of that and 4 weeks of playing.
Yeah.
So
when this was announced, call it last December, it was right before the new year, and you made this announcement that basically the first 4 weeks of the summer season were going to be, just the Scorpions. Call it inter squads with your development piece, the spring training. The thought was, I don't know who thought this, I didn't think this, but I could see where people would say the parents want their kids to play and go to the same old, the weekend tournament where the coaches are going to be camped out at these different events. Gerb, you said parents want structure. They want those that structure of the past of the past type of schedule. In some ways, I think that was their old version of structure. People thought, maybe, I don't know who thought this, but I could assume that some people thought kids are going to run away from the Scorpions because they don't want to do 4 weeks of training and development. They want to play. The reality was the opposite. The reality was a lot of retention. And then, Bob, you let us off. You said you were doing a dance Talk to us about, we're a year out from that now. You already mentioned it. You got tryouts coming out. Where are y'all with numbers for that again? With your tryouts?
I mean, Gerb told me this morning that we're at over 195 in the high school, and in the youth we're at 120. So I mean, our numbers are as strong as they've ever been. And I give credit to, like I said, I give credit to Gerb, Janet, Mello, Johnny, all of our coaches, because you don't get that retention with the wrong people.
Right.
Like I can sit there and do a dance and beat my chest, like I said, and I'm really proud of it because I took a beating last year. I had people trying to steal our coaches. I had people calling our coaches up and saying, "Oh yeah, nice going, pay more and play less," and making fun of everything we did. And now to see 200 kids and 120 kids in our youth program trying out.
Right.
Right. That's rewarding to me as the person who set this directive. But, if you think I'm going to sit back and take the credit for this, you're crazy, because I did nothing. Yeah. I had an idea. Yeah. I had a vision, right? And I passed that vision on to Gerb and Johnny and all the guys. And Carmelo does an awesome job with the youth program, too. Like, this is not for everybody. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody, but I'm a college baseball coach. I'm not a travel ball guy, as everybody knows. And everybody knows my comments, and everybody can't stand me because I open my big mouth. But in college baseball, when you coach at a smaller school like Rollins or where I've been, you can't just show up and play.
Yeah.
You're not getting all the best players in the country to go to Rollins College. You have to develop kids. You have a Matt Gerber. You have Sal Sun who played for me. Those kids developed over time and became impact players, and carried me on their back to the College World Series. There's a reason for why I feel the way I do about travel ball. I think it needs to be development based. So yes, I am beating my chest that we have 300 kids trying out for the Scorpions. I'm humbled by it, that people would trust us. But I am not going to take the credit for it. I'm going to pass the credit on to my guys. And Johnny and Gerb who led the way, Sal who sticks by me no matter what, all of our coaches. It's been an incredibly humbling thing, and in 1 year to have this result in our tryouts, it's very humbling to me.
Right. Long story short, the chance y'all took did not sink y'all, and maybe. I don't know. I didn't think it would, but maybe there's somebody out there who was thinking in the back of their mind, this is gonna be the end. Everybody's gonna jump ship and head to some other team. Long story short, you're growing. You're growing.
I mean, that's our society now, right?
It is.
I mean, hate and love are two strong words, right? And I think they're completely overused nowadays. Everybody hates everybody, and everybody loves everything. So it's they're both words that when I was brought up, you were taught that love and hate were very special words. But you can't do anything nowadays. You can't be successful nowadays. You can't do any of that without someone hating your guts.
True.
So it's expected. Unfortunately, it's expected. But I go to sleep every night with my Army, and I don't care what other people think of me. You know that. I think Gerb knows that. I think everybody, my wife knows that. I really don't care. People can say whatever they want about Bob Rikeman. They can say whatever they want about anything they want. But until they're inside my foxhole, with my coaches, my staff, my players, I really don't care what their opinion is. That's just my, they're not the ones that make me, get up every day and want to do something better. And I think that everybody around me has bought into that, and they know I have their back. And that's the thing that I'm really the most proud of. When you have people like Gerb and a guy like Jerry, who's been with us for 8 years as a coach, and he finally just became a head coach this year when I moved Gerb onto the, being basically my field general instead of being a coach. It's Jerry hung with us for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got friends in other travel ball organizations all over the place. He hung with us, and that's a credit to the Scorpions. It's not a credit to me. That's a credit to the Scorpions. And, so I am beating my chest. I got 300 kids coming to tryouts. But in reality, I did nothing. I set a directive. If I didn't have the right generals running the show and the right people in the Army, that directive goes nowhere.
Speaking of generals, I can't let this moment pass without calling out by name once again Janet Weber. She's running the show almost from behind the scenes. She's What would y'all? How do y'all describe her? Is she the ops director, or what do y'all?
Let me say that one, Reg. So, Richie, we had our affiliate meeting here about a month ago, where all of our affiliates from around the country,
which we're going to talk about in a second. By the way, that's on the list.
Okay. But the first when I introduced Janet, we were kind of going through the quote unquote business of travel baseball. The first thing I said to each of those guys was, you can't find another Janet because they don't exist, but your goal should be to find someone that does the job that she does, right?
100%.
Like, I mean, if we did not have her, I don't, like Greg says it all the time, like if we didn't have her, he wouldn't be doing this, I wouldn't be doing this. Like it's such a just a weight off your shoulders to have someone as organized and as professional and as good at communication that Janet is. So she is our director of finance and communication. It's her title. But yeah, she makes this thing go. There's no question about that.
100%.
I mean, the reality of it, Richie, is Gerber is our GM. I mean, he runs the baseball operations, and Janet's like our operations director. I mean, that's literally the way it is. I mean, Gerb, and I don't think people realize this, but I do not spend more than, would you say, Gerb, 10 hours a year on the field? I mean, I don't want to be out there. It's not what I love about the game. Mm-hmm. I love the kids, and I love the business of it. I love being part of the Scorpions organization, but I love the business side of it, like getting it to go in the right direction. But I have people that I trust. I don't micromanage. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be on the field with Gerb. I want Gerb to run it. And that's why I took Gerb out of coaching. I want Gerb to run the baseball operations for the Scorpions. So, really, he's our GM. I mean, he is in charge of everything, baseball-wise, and Janet is in charge of everything when it comes to the operational side, the money side. Yeah. Just making sure that I don't screw things up.
I'm hoping. I mean, I'm hoping there's at least one organization that is either at large scale or is currently scaling. I mean, if you're at 20 teams, you're at 300 players plus, and if you don't have a Janet in place, a full-time operations manager, then well, they don't know, but I know that things are slipping through the cracks because I hear about it all the time. Mm-hmm. I hear about it, and I see it with my own eyes. I'm thinking of an organization in my head that's probably pushing 500 players, and they've got a part-timer, which is better than a no-timer. But in reality, with an organization that big, they almost need a Janet and a half, and they can't convince themselves. I can't stress how important somebody in that role can be, because there's just too many moving parts to try to be the GM, the head coach, doing lessons, putting and handling the finance and communications. It's just too much going on. So anyway, I've met Janet, I think once. I recognized within about 3 seconds that she's an all-star. So I'll give a nod to my buddy Jeff Schaefer with CBC down in North Carolina. Sue Zeich is his general, and she's the sort of the North Carolina version of Janet Weber, and they're both, these ladies are top notch. Listen, let's change. Gerber just brought up a topic, and it was on my list of things I want to ask about: the affiliates. At one point not too long ago, you guys were simply known as the Orlando Scorpions, which I actually referred to y'all earlier as the Orlando Scorpions. But the reality is now y'all are Scorpions baseball, and you've grown beyond Orlando. You have affiliates in Florida outside of Orlando. Now you have affiliates outside of Florida. I'd love to hear, as much or as little as you want to talk about, and tell us, why you're doing that, and maybe a little bit kind of the mechanics behind it, and and how that's gone. I know you haven't been out of state for too long, so I don't know if there's a lot of track record to talk about. But go ahead and inform us about these affiliates.
Yeah, I'll put it pretty succinctly. Since we came up with this new model, we feel like we have a mouthpiece, right, in this industry, and our hope is to find a good balance, right, between training, development, playing, and showcasing, right? They're all important, and they all got to go hand in hand. So our hope in the affiliate model is not to just make a bunch of money, right? That's not what this is about. In fact, I don't know all the other affiliate models, but I can guarantee you ours, it doesn't bring a whole lot of revenue to the Scorpions home office. Okay, so this is more for us about spreading our model across the country, and finding good people to do that. You know, when Bob did your podcast, we were lucky enough to also get on with Sheets and do a podcast with the ABCA. We, between those two, when we kind of announced this model, right, I mean, we had a lot of interest in it, right? A lot of people emailing and calling and asking, you know, what are we doing and why are we doing it? And out of that, honestly, was born, you know, Scorpions Midwest, and Scorpions Northeast, and Scorpions Utah, and these are all guys that reached out to us, not the other way around, right? We're not out there actively trying to find people, but if good people fall in our lap that believe in what we're doing and want that same model and that same guidance and same structure for their kids, then we're all in, right? And that's, you know, and we've said no to some people because we felt like that wasn't their model and their belief. And for us, it's about finding those people across the country that are going to buy into what we're doing. That's why we do affiliate meetings. We bring them all in. We, you know, Coach Reich takes care of them to the nth degree, I promise you, you know, from a 5-star dinner and hotel accommodations, and, you know, bring these guys in and make sure that we're all on the same page and we're rowing in the same direction, and we're all the consistency across the organization, whether you're in, you know, New England or Missouri or Utah or wherever it is, you're getting the same product, you're getting the same consistency, you're getting the same message over and over again that goes to that program that Coach talked about. And that's our reason for our affiliate model, point blank. You got anything else, Reich, or would you agree with that?
No, I think it was pretty telling this year when the guys from Missouri asked if they'd come to a week of the training to see what we were all about. And, you know, and they were already friendly with Sal through the Tom House pitching program, through the NPA, but they wanted to see what we were all about. And, you know, they went through the whole thing with us that week. They went through the meals, the training, the dorms, and you know, it was really cool. It was your podcast really kicked it off for us, and Sheets, you know, did the same thing for us. So it just, you know, I think it was really, the reaction we got was incredible, as you probably saw on social media as well. So not that social media is the end all for me, because I'm an old man, but I just use it to, like, open my big mouth. But to be honest with you, it was really humbling. You put that podcast out, how many people called us and reached out to us. And I'm talking pro scouts, college coaches, as well as other travel ball organizations. And, you know, Gerber would get phone calls from guys that he knows in travel ball saying, what can we do to be like this? Or what can we do like this? And how, you know, this is our situation. We don't have the same yearly schedule as you guys do. So how could we do this? And we also got other people that train all year round. They have indoor facilities, and called us and said, hey, you might want to try this, or you might want to do this. And, you know, it's every region, every area can't do the same things. Yeah. Even our affiliates don't have the same schedules as us, you know. But it really was really rewarding to have these guys get on board with us, and, you know, they're a great group of guys, and it was really cool to see the Missouri guys. We even had guys come in from Seattle to do it, part of the training this summer.
I want to tell a story real quick. You know, this is a story about friendship and loyalty, I think, more than anything. But Gerber mentioned these affiliates are not some kind of get rich quick scheme for the Scorpions. It's not a land grab across the country. I have a friend who runs a small organization, and this is a Hall of Fame level collegiate coach who runs this organization, and he kind of mentioned to me in passing about the possibility of looking for one of these national brands to partner with. And I said, well, let's get you to talk to Reich. And so I sent word to Rikeman. I sent a text. He said, where is he? I told him where he is, and he goes, I don't really want to be there because one of my good friends he's already out there. It's not a Scorpions brand. It just happens to be a friend of Reich. that he doesn't want to compete head to head against. And I found that to be a really refreshing, because that would have been a layup. I mean, honestly, it would have been a layup to put a Scorpions affiliate in that area, but then he would have felt like he was competing against a guy he didn't want to go head to head with. It was a refreshing and it was Reich. I don't even know if that rings a bell to you, but it stuck out for me.
Yeah, it does. I remember it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, we don't need to mention the guy or the region. It's irrelevant, but it was but it stuck out. I want to change gears again, because I know we're running short on time. You guys have a drop dead time of about maybe 12 minutes from now, and then you got to run. You have to run because despite all of this success, and if you want to hear more about Rikeman's background and Gerber's relationship with him and Sal, it's an interesting story. We covered that in the first podcast a year ago. Despite all of the success, Rikeman and Gerber now run a store, which I find to be completely hilarious that you guys are now in the retail business. And I say that kind of tongue in cheek. You guys have teamed up. By the way, this is the portion of the show where Kyle from Marucci needs to go ahead and send me some sponsorship dollars, because this is the part of the podcast where apparently every episode turns into a commercial for Marucci's Founders Club, and now the Marucci Clubhouse. Can you explain what the Marucci Clubhouse is and how that came to be? And go ahead. Here comes the commercial, Marucci. Go ahead, Gerber or Reich.
I mean, it was pretty easy. I mean, when we teamed up with Marucci at the Scorpions and Kyle, and it brought us up and teamed us great up in Baton Rouge, I asked him, I said, how can I get one of these hitters' houses in Orlando? And he said, man, we don't do that. We don't want to spread that out. And then maybe a year later, they said, hey, look, we're going to probably try to franchise these things as a Marucci Clubhouse. If you're interested, let us know. And I had good meetings with them and started looking for buildings. It took me about 14 months to find a building. And believe it or not, another Rollins alum who didn't play for me, he actually played for Boyd Coffey, who was a legend at Rollins, said, hey, don't give up yet. I think you'll like this one building. And I found this building, and we started working on it in April.
Hey, Reich, you're covering up your mic just a touch.
Okay, so we decided that we started looking for a building. It was 14 months of searching. A Rollins alum helped me find the building, and then we started building in April. And October 15th we opened. We opened the Marucci Clubhouse Orlando, and 30,000 square foot building with a member area in the back. It's got retail cages in the front. It's got a retail store, about 7,000 square foot retail store. So we've been open for about a few months right now, and it's really an awesome experience to have this ability, and have Matt and those guys help me out working in here. Janet helps me out. Bello helps me out. Right now I'm the only employee and the only real employee, and it's 20-hour days. But it's you can only do something like this if you have good people around you. And having Gerb run the baseball at the Scorpions, and having Janet run the business part of it, and having Bello run the youth has afforded me the opportunity to be able to open up this business. And I'm really excited about it. I really enjoy Marucci, as you know. And I could not be in a better place with the Marucci Clubhouse in Orlando.
I got to meet Kyle for the first time last week down at the ABCA. I attended League Apps and Sports Recruits, I suppose, were the two main sponsors of a dinner and a panel discussion. Kyle was on the panel discussion, and it was really fantastic getting to meet him. For anybody who doesn't follow, I think everybody in the world already follows Orlando Scorps on Twitter and at Coach Reich 27 on Twitter. You can go there and find photos of the Marucci Clubhouse that they just put together. This is as far as I can tell, an absolute one-of-a-kind looking facility. I've never seen the types of things, the types of finishes, the feel of this. I mean, it in some ways, parts of it do not look and feel anything like a baseball facility. I mean, how did you decide to do some of the things? And maybe you can describe a little bit what I'm talking about, a lot of the wood and whatnot. How did you decide to do that?
I didn't want it to look like a dungeon, right? I mean, baseball facilities all look the same. They
Yes.
have the same color walls. And
Yes.
I didn't want it to look like that. I wanted it to look like, an old school ballpark. We put, faux brick all around the outsides of it, of the insides of the building. And we did 8-foot panels so we could make it go up 8 feet. And then we painted black above that so it looks really clean. We did concrete stain on floors. We did, garage flooring in the retail area. So, it's just easy to clean, and it's very colorful. And, we also did some Japanese wood burning, which is called shushugiban. And,
Yes.
I stood up there with a blowtorch and burn stain that wood just to do something, because Marucci has that Inferno bat, and I wanted to do something
Yes.
Marucci looking,
Yes.
so we used the Marucci Inferno bats as the countertop legs, and I had some firefighters help me, welded some home plates to put the legs into, and just little things, but it was a challenge. I mean, I didn't have any plans. I did it on Google SketchUp, and and I got told probably 50 times that where are your plans? I can't do this, and you just find somebody else who will do it. And I had a vision. I had a dream that I wanted to build an indoor baseball facility that was not a typical indoor baseball facility. And
well, you
fortunately
succeeded.
for me, like I said, yeah. Well, I appreciate that. If it wasn't for Marucci, I wouldn't have the opportunity. And they give us the credibility, they give us the name, and fortunately for me, I've got a great facility with a lot of great people. We're up to 70 members right now, and it's really an amazing thing. It's so rewarding to come here every single day and see the Scorpions have real offices, and I get to come to a facility that I had a dream of doing for years. That as a college coach, there's no way I was going to be able to afford something like this. So it's really neat.
Listen, I know that you have to go because you have to open that place up. Take a look at your watch. Tell me exactly how much time you have left before I ask.
I'm good. I don't know. I don't open until 11, and I get here pretty early, so
you're
done.
You're already there. Okay.
Yeah.
You've mentioned
something.
You mentioned something because I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. I've probably been inside more facilities, more different facilities than anybody ever should. I mean, just from what I do, I traveling around the country, and I've seen these things, and I've seen the different ways they're being operated. And I've already heard you say the same word a couple times now. It's memberships. You got up to 70 members already. Talk to us about sort of the direction you're going with that, and the goal, and maybe any other nuances that you have found that seem to be clicking as far as running that as a standalone business.
Well, I think the membership model that Marucci has is fantastic, right? I mean, it's 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week access. No matter what happens, we closed on Christmas Day. Members were in here hitting if they want to hit.
Yeah.
And I think that model of using your fingerprint to get in the building so it's secure, it's safe. You can't pass keys around because you can't pass your fingerprint around to people. Yeah. It's really been a good thing. And the other thing I think is good, and Gerber attested this because he's one of the guys that benefits from it. Every instructor has to be a member. So if anybody wants to do private lessons or they want to do whatever, they have to be insured through Marucci. They have to be insured through us. Now we don't negotiate any of their fees, but if you think about it, it's $100 a month for it to be a member, an instructor member. And I don't care how much money they make after that, as long as all they do is instruct members, I'm good. Mm-hmm. So it works hand in hand. Instead of, most facilities that take 50%, 30%, $10, whatever they do from guys who do private lessons, if you're really good at what you do and you have 20, 30 lessons a week like Sal and Gerb do, I mean, they paid for their membership in a week. So the rest of it is on them. And so I think the model is fantastic. I think seeing kids in here, putting pictures online that they're in here at 12:30 in the morning hitting, and I've just seen a huge plus for a lot of happy kids, but also I think it's creating a lot of work ethic in kids too. I think a lot more kids are in here hitting than I ever thought would be possible, and seeing kids that really love to play baseball. We've got anywhere from big leaguers like Drew Butera and Brendan Rodgers in here to 9-year-old kids in here hitting at 12:15 a.m. with their dad. And I've even seen some moms throw BP, which kind of gets scary because they don't stay behind the L screens and stuff like that. But it's really been a really rewarding thing, and Marucci's model is second to none. I'm a huge fan of everything they do, anyways. But this model is a home run for kids. It's a home run for us. It's a home run for this area, and the area has been incredibly supportive of us. So I'm really proud of it.
I can't wrap my head around why a facility sticks to the old school version of we're just going to sell 6-pack of lessons. And that's what they do. And I mean, it works for them, right? They stay open, I suppose. At least some of them do. You've never seen a Gold's Gym sell a 6-pack of visits to a person. Hey, here's a 6-pack. Punch your card when you come in. No, it's you pay every single month. And if you want to go to Gold's Gym every single day at lunchtime, you go 30 days a month. Good. But if you only want to come, every Saturday and you only come 4 times a month, good. Gold's Gym made the same amount of money either way. And it seems like the baseball facilities that are switching over to a membership model, what they're doing is you're counting on, you're evening out that revenue. You don't have to hope that everybody's coming in and buying 6-pack lessons. It just seems like a no-brainer, and I can't figure out why everybody's not doing it. You can still sell lessons within it, but the membership thing, that's a home run. That's a home run. Has Marucci, have they provided or created a membership platform as far as the registering? So I'm thinking like the online technology. What are you guys using to set that up, if anything, or is it just pencil and paper when you come into the desk?
No, they have, and I can't talk about it because I've signed an NDA, but they have a proprietary software that they use for all memberships. We use Square for retail, which I can let that out because it's not a big deal.
Yeah,
that's
but, pretty common.
Their model is threefold, right? We have a public section.
Mm-hmm.
People can walk in off the street. They can hit in batting cages with machines.
Sure.
They have the membership section, and you have the retail store. So you have three ways to make revenue in their model, which is what really appealed to me. You don't, and I stress to Gerber and everybody else who works in here, we're not going to be lesson driven. Lesson driven is I've seen it at least in Florida. It's the way facilities go bankrupt.
Yes.
I mean, because lessons are cyclical. They're also, kids leave, instructors leave.
You're trading time for dollars. It doesn't scale.
Absolutely. It's the barbershop model for lessons is way better. You make them members. They're basically renting a chair, and they're treated like everybody else. They have the same fingerprint, and everybody that they serve has to be members, and that's where it helps us, and we help them by allowing them to run their business and make as much money as they want. So it's really been really beneficial. But there is a membership software. It's proprietary for Marucci, but they I can tell you it's extremely organized. The fingerprint system is extremely efficient. It's outstanding. The model is really, really good, and they give you a lot of leeway. I put a green monster in here in the retail area, which all my New York customers can't stand when they walk in here. But they gave me a little leeway from the color schemes, and they let me do a lot of things I really wanted to do. And they're honestly a very progressive, good group of people. I have never met a bad person at Marucci, and I mean that. They've been outstanding partners with the Scorpions and extremely good partners with this building. I mean, I've had a good time with them.
We'll wrap you up here in a second. I have another question specifically about the clubhouse. Yours was not the first one. I'm assuming they have one down in Louisiana.
That's correct. They had Baton Rouge,
okay,
which was the main one right at their headquarters. They had one in Hitters Health Northeast, which was in Northeast Louisiana.
Okay.
So we were definitely not the first ones. They had Los Angeles. So those three were already open before.
Okay.
I was awarded a franchise. So now they open Orlando. They've opened Midwest. They've opened Austin, Texas. They're about to open Las Vegas. So they're growing. I know they have a goal of 25 or 20 by the end of 2020. So
listen, anybody who calls Kyle, make sure you tell him that you heard about it on the podcast. Kyle, hey, little something this way. I'll send you my PayPal account. Okay, Kyle.
Yeah, and listen, don't bother Kyle because he's not the guy. You want to call Eric Simmons.
All right, Eric, I'll send you my PayPal info. Need these referral fees. That's pretty exciting. You know, the franchise model baseball facility has been tough. I think the biggest success in the world, really, in that space is out of Texas, and that's D-Bat. Shoot, I think they opened one in China this year, believe it or not. So seeing Marucci obviously feels like they've got they've got something here if they're looking to continue to grow. So that's pretty interesting. It's going to be something to keep an eye on, and maybe a topic for this time next year when we jump on the podcast again. I'll want, because that way you'll have a full year under your belt running the thing. I can't believe, I kind of laugh at myself every time I think about Bob Rikeman running retail at at this stage in your life.
I laugh at myself, believe me. So it's and I'm sure anybody who knows me or played for me probably can't believe I'm in retail either. So it's interesting.
Guys, this has been a lot of fun. I always want to be respectful of your time. Gerb, I appreciate you coming on. Rikeman, fun as always. Do y'all have any parting shots? You know what? I always have a ton of sort of standard questions, but we kind of hung on. We talked about a refresher about the development and the change in y'all's schedule, so we stuck to that. Is there anything that's sticking out top of mind to you guys right now that that's worth hitting for a minute?
Yeah, I mean, mine would just be that I think that, as I said at the very beginning, like, you're always trying to get better. So we didn't really get to touch on too much about the changes that we're making going forward in the development model, but there are some, and, time for another conversation. But just suffice it to say that we will continue to get better at what we do and continue to refine it and make it the best that it can be.
That is an absolute teaser right there. Is there maybe something in 30 seconds or less that you can give us a high level bullet point?
No, Richie, it's not groundbreaking. I think just things that we learned, feedback from parents. Yeah. Some small tweaks to the schedule in terms of how it works and how it flows, but It's just more about, again, I think more about just how can we be the best that we can be, and have the goal at the top and always work towards that, but there's always going to be some small tweaks along the line.
Yeah, especially since last year was your first go-around. There's going to be a lot of learnings after that first go that you can implement year two, and then again year three. Bob, anything scratching at you that you feel like maybe we need to talk about for a minute?
No, I mean, I'm very thankful that you had us on. I appreciate it, and you give us a great voice, and it really helped us last year. And I'm very thankful I have good people around me. I mean, that's the biggest takeaway that I can give you is this would not be possible without good people and good kids, and we've got them both. And I'm proud of all our coaches. I'm proud of our staff, and I'm really proud of our kids for buying in and doing the right things. And it's just only going to get better. It's only going to get better with the right people involved, and I'm excited for the future of it.
I love it. It's refreshing when the guys at the top of the food chain are continuing to talk about getting better and providing value for their families and players, and because it would be easy to sit back and stay stagnant. So congratulations for all the continued success. I appreciate you guys coming on, and we'll chat soon. Y'all, you probably got to go get some shelves to restock and some shirts to fold. So get on to it over there in that retail shop. Okay.
All right, brother.
Talk to you all soon. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
See ya.
Bye.
I'm having so much fun bringing these shows to you each week. If you'd like to recommend a coach for the show, please don't hesitate to shoot me a note at rich@playinschool.com or DM me on Twitter @playinschool. Again, my name is Rich Prado. I'm the founder of Play in School. My goal is to continue to create products and services that add value to you, the travel ball coaches, your players, and their parents. Visit playinschool.com to see some of the ways we're doing that. Or better yet, let's set up a call. Until next time, Thank you for listening to Travel Ball Talk.